Hi everyone, this is Caitlin with Kait's Collectibles. Today I am reviewing my other favorite line of collectibles that I have, which are my Disney dolls. I used to have quite a large collection of different Barbies and things like that, and I've pared it down over the years just to decrease the amount of space it's taking up in my life. So I mainly collect Sailor Moon items, specifically the role-playing toys, the things like the wands and the lockets that I've reviewed in the past, and I collect the Barbie sized as well as the 17-inch Disney limited edition dolls. So the first doll that I'm going to be reviewing is a relatively recent one. It is the limited edition Princess Aurora doll in her blue dress. So this doll came out in October of 2014. This doll was, I believe, the first series where they increased the price on these dolls, so it went up to $119 American or $129.95 Canadian. With these dolls, they've become very, very popular over the last few years, especially after the Dollmageddon that was the designer line, which I will be reviewing in the future. So these are a one per person or one per household item when you order them. You have to either pre-order in store or online. There are almost never any dolls left over for you to just show up and pick up on the day they come out. The pre-orders always sell out. And then they usually do surprise releases along with the pre-orders. So the blue doll technically was a surprise release. The pink was the one that you could pre-order for. The blue is a slightly smaller edition size. She is a limited edition of 4,000, which you can see at the bottom of the box there. Every so often in the online communities, we get a bit of a giggle out of the fact that the box will say limited edition 1 of 4,000 and people think they got doll number 1. That's not the case. It's just you have 1 of 4,000 dolls. I'll show you in this review where you can find your edition number. There's 2 locations for it depending on if you're unboxing your doll. Now, these dolls usually come out 2 times a year. They'll come out in March and they'll come out in October. If they release these dolls, they're usually along with the Diamond Edition release of a movie. So that's the Blu Ray DVD edition. These started in 2009 with the release of Snow White, and then they've continued since then. They're saying from Disney that the Diamond Editions are going to be all finished up in 2016. I'm not sure if they're still on track for that or not, but we'll see what happens with these doll lines as they continue because they've been a huge profit for Disney. Now in March, there's usually no princess movie being released, so it's usually an animal movie. So Bambi, Dumbo, Pinocchio, I believe, is the next March release that's planned. 101 Dalmatians was the previous one. So they don't have a princess doll that goes with them, but the last few releases, for example, they've done something different. So they've done additional dolls from a movie like Frozen, for example. So this one came out in October of 2014 along with the Sleeping Beauty Blu Ray. You could pre-order the pink doll, and then the ones that were available in store on release day were Aurora in her blue dress, Maleficent, and Prince Philip. Now, one of the things I really like about the doll here is the boxes. The cases are perfect for collectors who don't want to take them out of the box, since you can see it from multiple angles. One of the things that's maybe harder to see on this box, if you get a little bit of reflection from the light here, is there's a little bit of a pattern on the white, and it's different for every doll. So with her, you've got some roses, some hearts, crowns, sort of a royal symbol in there. Now just to angle her a little differently, you can see from the side of the box, the clear plastic casing always has some aspect related to the doll in question. These boxes change from doll to doll. So little diamonds and sort of the rose bramble pattern there. Now the dolls themselves are about 17 inches in height, but the boxes are a bit taller than that. So a lot of collectors want to know how tall a shelf they can use. And the boxes stand about 19 inches tall from bottom to top. So if you're planning on storing them on a shelf or in a bookshelf or something like that, in a bookshelf you probably need about 20 inches to have enough clearance at the top of the box. If you're looking to put a shelf on your wall, make sure there's, I would say at least 19.5, 20 inches to, say, the ceiling or the shelf above it. And that's been pretty standard with the boxes for all of the dolls in this line. I'll turn to the back here. So the back of every box continues that very difficult to see pattern that's on the white. It's got some details about the doll herself, and it mentions there's a certificate of authenticity included, and that'll show you what your doll's number is. And you've got the little price sticker down in the bottom corner as well. I never bother removing it because I don't want to damage the box. Some collectors are very, very, very particular about the state the boxes come in. So if there are any creases in the cardboard, defects in the plastic, they want one that's absolutely pristine. Whereas there are other collectors that, since they plan on displaying them without the box, some people even, believe it or not, throw the boxes away. And some communities online, you can buy the boxes off people for people who like to make their own custom dolls or make changes to them. So it's really quite an interesting community of collectors out there for these dolls. Now this is the only doll in my entire Disney collection that I've unboxed, and the reason for that being I do have a second one in the box right now, although I would probably be willing to part with her depending on the price. But they are a collector's item and I like to keep them intact. I also don't have a space to display them out, and I find that if they're in the box, they're easier to dust. These dolls, with the fabric they tend to have on them, it's very easy for them to get dusty and gross. Now the box comes apart in several pieces, so it's very important if you're doing this for the first time, just to keep that in mind. And the easiest way I find to separate these is by laying it down. So the top portion of the cardboard detaches. The plastic is not attached to this, it's a separate piece. So we'll set that aside here. Now the plastic just slides in. And as you can see, that's where you've got your edition number and the name of the doll as well. Now in recent years, Disney's had more of what I would consider manufacturing issues than they did with earlier dolls. So it's not uncommon for these plastic cases to come either with creases or with strange discolored lines in different areas. For me, as long as it's not super visible, it hasn't bothered me. Now, the next portion of the doll that's important is this little slip right underneath her here. There's a little pocket, and that's where you'll find your certificate of authenticity. So here's mine, and it shows that she is doll number 2623 of 4000. And the back has it in French. I don't know if all the American ones have that too. I'm in Canada, so they would have had to include that. I also keep my certificate in the plastic because otherwise it's more likely to get damaged. Now I've already taken the time to separate the doll from the plastic and the cardboard that's holding her in place. So I'm going to remove her for a moment and just show you the rest of the casing. So the remaining portion here, with this doll we can see that her background is the Sleeping Beauty castle with sort of a pink tint to the sky, which I think is a really nice background for her. However, because they released the doll both in pink and blue, they basically used the same background with different colors. I would have liked to have seen maybe like the rose brambles or something like that for one of them. Now the plastic here helps hold her shape. You can kind of see the outline of her neck and where her arms go, as well as all these little holes where different pieces were attached. They also use sort of a string that's the color of her hair to hold her hair in different places. And then there's the ties at the bottom as well. They also use little plastic ties to hold the back of her head in place on the plastic, as well as to hold her dress at the bottom. So if you're looking to remove the doll from the case, which is totally your choice, this piece separates out from the cardboard in the back. And then it is a tedious and time-consuming process because some of these attachments that are in this plastic, you need to remove this plastic piece. So if you turn it around, there are all these little tabs that are taped in, so you need to detach the tape, cut any of the ties that are on the back of this box, and then gently slide these out to remove it. And then you can detach her from the back of the plastic here. There's also some ties in the bottom that you'll want to remove as well. And then afterwards, you're able to separate that piece out and slide it back into the backing. And that just leaves you with the doll herself once you've taken all the time to separate all the pieces. So we're gonna set her out here. Now another interesting thing to note about this set of dolls is this is the pink and blue are the second set that have had a Harrods release. So Harrods is a store in England, in London I believe, where they have a lot of specialty and high-end products. The first set that they did for Harrods specifically, and not just a Disney store specific release, was Snow Queen Elsa, I believe, with her sister Anna. And so it was a special set that included the two of them, the two boxes. And they made some changes to the doll itself, to the dresses. I believe they had the shinier skin. There were some more crystals, things like that on her. They did the same thing for Pink and Blue Sleeping Beauty. So the dresses on those are a little bit different. This is just the Disney Store one. So the texture of the dress, it's a sort of silky satin material with a really light underlay. I did leave the little attachments on her dress here to hold the pieces together, but I may remove those too. You can see it's got this very nice light underlay here. And down at the bottom, a crinoline along with some little blue shoes. These are jointed dolls, so they are designed to be moved and positioned in different ways. Now the Harrods version, the way you'll know that she's different if you're looking at one online is I believe that her dress had more of a velvety satin texture to it. Now this doll is really, really detailed. As I turn her here, you'll get a better look at her. So lots of little crystals highlighting the dress. When I opened my box actually to check her, one of the little blue crystals was sitting in the bottom. I think it might be off this back panel here, assuming they're all supposed to be in the same place. So I'm wondering over time how these are going to hold up because they're really just sort of pressed or like with a little bit of a glue that holds them in place. Nice detailed stitching on her sleeves with sort of that rose pattern. And all the way up the top of her sleeve there, a little stitched in hearts. That's one of the things I like about these dolls is they take a lot of time with the outfits to make them detailed. I'll turn her to the back here. So I kept the clip in place that's holding her belt on. She has the nice high collar, the same detailed stitching. Now her hair, as you can see, is separated into all these nice ringlety curls. I like the color they used for her hair. A lot of the time with the promotional materials, they tend to forget a couple of things with the Aurora character specifically. One being that her hair is not a yellow blonde, it's really more of a strawberry blonde. And the other being that her eyes are actually violet, not blue. So in some of the materials, you'll see sort of a blue color in her eyes. One thing that fans and collectors complained about with this doll was the tinseling through the hair. I quite like that on her actually. I think it gives her a little bit of shimmer where there isn't any otherwise. This way. I also like the way they interpreted the collar for the top rather than just doing plain white portion that stayed quite low. They made it quite high and regal looking. So I like that look on her. And these dolls usually have the sort of extension eyelashes. It's not just plain plastic on their face. So as you can see with her, they've done, I think, a nice job on her signature curl up at the top here. The bangs are cut a little bit rough. They're also, like the hair product that they use, they're extremely stiff. So these aren't going anywhere unless you're actually going to mess with them. If you receive your doll and there's hairs out of place or something seems a little wonky, that's usually when I take the plastic cover off and I'll try and adjust things just a little bit without taking them out of the box completely. I've also left these elastic ties in place to kind of keep her dress up and the necklace in place, but you can see that there's a few crystals on it, the same sort of rose pattern theme that's going throughout, and that matches her crown. And I really like the way they interpreted her crown. In the movie, it's just a very plain gold crown, so I like these little details that they threw into it. If we close in on her face a little bit too here, you'll see they used a very nice pale pink for her lips, a little bit of blush highlighting her cheeks, and then the violet of the eyes, as well as sort of a pinky violet color for her eyeshadow. I believe between the pink and the blue doll, the eyeshadow color was a little bit different, but I'll have to double check that when I review the pink one. I also kept the base portion of the sleeve attached on the one side. And one of the things I wanted to highlight with that, and this is a little bit of a complaint of mine when you're detaching these dolls, is that they use the little plastic ties that you can see down here. Basically the kind of thing you see to hold a price tag on your clothing, to hold everything in place. And so what happens is when you detach them, you have to be extremely, extremely careful because there's no way to avoid it. They're going to leave little holes in the dress of the doll. So there's a teeny little one there you can see. I believe that one's actually from holding all the hair in place. And then right down here, still got that tie. So you can see there's a little tiny hole in the dress right there. Now, if you're someone that normally deboxes collectibles like this, that's something you probably have just learned to live with. I mean, they are very minor imperfections, but when you spend a lot of money on a doll and you want to display it, you really don't want to see holes. So be very, very careful when you're detaching these from your doll's dress. This one in particular, because of the delicate nature of the fabric, you're going to get possibly runs if you just kind of rip them out. So really take your time to gently wiggle them. So all in all, I really love this doll. Aurora is probably my favorite of the original 3 Disney princesses. I was really thrilled that they announced the surprise release of her coming out in a blue dress, not just the pink, because I love the blue dress on her. Right now, she is still going up for a very reasonable price on the secondary market. Pretty well a bit over retail is what you'd expect to pay for her. That price is probably going to inflate with time. But if you're looking to start a collection, the Sleeping Beauty dolls are a great place to start. If she's not your favorite princess, then I would suggest, setting that money aside, figuring out which one is your favorite, and saving up for that one instead. So this is my review of the Sleeping Beauty limited edition 17-inch blue dress version of Aurora. These can only be purchased at the Disney Store, so make sure you watch the Disney Store's Buzz blog to get more information about upcoming doll releases. And there's also the limited edition Disney doll group on Facebook, which is a wonderful resource for not only buying and selling dolls, but for fans to connect together, get news. That's where I usually watch and like to post things about my dolls. So if you collect the Disney dolls, let me know which one your favorite is. Like, comment, subscribe to get more updates like these. I'm going to be reviewing more of these dolls that I have in my collection, although I won't be unboxing them all. But I will be, at the very least, taking the cover off to get into more in-depth reviews of them. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention before I go is there is a second secret location where you can find the edition number on your doll. So if for some reason you've purchased the doll out of package and it did not come with a certificate of authenticity, you can ask to check the back of the doll. Right there you will find a serial number as well as her edition number, and again you can see it matches 2623 out of 4,000. That's a little bit of a trick there. If your doll does not come with a certificate and it does not have an edition number stamped on the back, that means it was a display doll, meant for display only in the Disney store, which usually goes to cast members. I believe for a lot of those dolls, they are not supposed to resell them after the fact. Many of them do, or they get passed down through hands and then end up on eBay or something for sale. So if it doesn't have an edition number, that doesn't mean that it's not an official doll, but it means that it was a display doll. So its value is expected to be a little bit less. So something to keep an eye on with these dolls as well. So thanks for watching my video, and I will be working on more for you very soon. Thanks!